doing our latest podcast. As I'm sure everybody's noticed, I haven't been around much for the last week or so. Had jury duty and wanted to do my civic duty instead of trying to get out of it once. So that took until yesterday afternoon. So we hopefully will be back on schedule with a couple of casts a week, uploaded to YouTube, and move forward from there. I've also put in some new hardware for the cast, so I'm working with a new mixing board and a new microphone. So if things sound a little strange for the next podcast or two, we're burning those in and getting used to it. With regard to our first thing, which would be more on Windows 11, I did download and do an update on one of my laptops, hardware laptops, not VM, that had the TPM 2.0 chip and secure boot, just to kind of see how that went as part of the preview program. And it actually was smoother than I expected. It took several reboots and it took a while, especially if you're running a VPN. For that, you might actually, unless there's some particular reason why you want to point yourself to Finland or wherever, you actually might want to turn the VPN off for that, unless you're using an exceptionally fast VPN, which I haven't really noticed any of them are that fast, no matter what they say. But you might want to go ahead and turn it off just so you can get the download going and get the update going, and then pop it back on once the update runs. Good news is, so far, I haven't found anything that Windows 11 broke on that laptop. It's one I do use a fair amount. It's not my newest laptop, and it's not the one that I use for work more often than not, but it does get used a fair amount. There's a fair amount of software on it that I would rather not lose, but I also backed it up 6 ways from Sunday, including a VM, P2V, full backup, the whole kit and caboodle. So hopefully I protected myself on that. And if anybody decides to do the same, I would certainly suggest doing that. I certainly wouldn't at this point use any kind of production machine to test Windows 11. It's called Preview for a reason, after all. But if you do have a fairly new laptop lying around that you replaced one for your kid because they graduated high school or graduated college, but that one's only 2, 3, 4 years old, it might be a good test bed for you if you're really that interested. Otherwise, you've got folks like me that will do it for you. As I said, it hasn't broken anything yet. All the applications still run. I can still print. I can still swap back and forth between Windows and my cell phone, which is now embedded in Windows 11. So that's a nice, cute thing to have if you have an Android phone. If you have an iPhone, well, I'm pretty sure you didn't expect that to happen. I know I didn't. So it's capable of running all of my smart home stuff. None of that's been broken. I actually installed the Alexa for Windows on it yesterday, and it ran just fine. So far, so good as far as that goes. Microsoft just did a new update that included some new functionality. Haven't really gotten into that yet, but I plan on doing that some this weekend, so I'll have a report during the week next week on how that went. So far, so good. Really haven't had any issues with it. But you got to keep in mind, this is a test bed. It is a preview. Microsoft is using its public for beta testing. They always have. They always will. And it's not ridiculously stupid on their part. Now, as far as Linux goes, I've been working with some of the Linux desktops, just for those folks that might see this as an excuse to, or sorry, not an excuse, as a reason to go from Windows to Linux, especially if their hardware won't run Windows 11 because of the hardware restriction. Twister OS is still my personal favorite Windows desktop replacement. It's similar on purpose. It gives you a good recognition and feel on purpose. So it's, as I said, it's still my favorite. If you're just using it for your desktop. Now, if you're a developer or you're somebody that does a lot of Linux from the command line, chances are you've already got your preferred distribution, and you may as well stick with it. But if you are just trying to get a desktop replacement because you don't want to pay Microsoft licensing for 20 desktops, etc., then Twister so far is my preferred replacement. We'll be getting into some of the others next week as I get caught up. And if any of those happens to pass Twister on that list, I'll be more than glad to let you know. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Leave them in the comments or shoot me an email. Either way, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.